React to the jury's decision to convict following the death of George Floyd.
The Justice Department is launching a probe into Minneapolis policing practices. I'm Skylar Henry with the reactions following Derek Chauvin's conviction.
And the latest vacation survey says Americans are ready to hit the road.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Civil rights activists in the United States have welcomed the guilty verdict.
Speaker, last night's verdict in Minneapolis delivered justice for the family and friends of George Floyd.
World reaction after Tuesday's guilty verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Britain Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the jury made the right call. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tweeted that the conviction brought accountability for George Floyd's death, but said systemic racism and anti-black racism still exist. A jury yesterday found Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer involved in Floyd's arrest and death, guilty of second and third degree murder and second degree manslaughter. The prosecution made the case to jurors that Chauvin putting his knee on Floyd's neck during the arrest constituted conduct that would be outside of what a reasonable police officer would do. Last summer, Floyd's killing triggered Black Lives Matter protests from London to Berlin and Japan to Australia, all of them demanding an end to racism. Well, protests have given way to celebrations in Minneapolis after Derek Chauvin's murder conviction, and now the U.S. Justice Department has launched an investigation. Skylar Henry has the story from Minneapolis.
Derek Chauvin is in a maximum security prison in Minnesota, waiting for his sentencing in about 8 weeks. Judge Peter Cahill could give the former officer up to 40 years for murdering George Floyd.
Unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty.
Chauvin's conviction on all 3 counts Tuesday, after less than 10 hours of deliberations, sparked celebrations in Minneapolis and across the nation.
I just thank God for Minnesota for the truth.
Guilty and guilty. I was excited. I was happy because African American people, we feel that we never get justice.
And residents may see more justice. The U.S. Attorney General is opening an investigation into policing practices in Minneapolis.
It will include a comprehensive review of the Minneapolis Police Department's policies, training, supervision, and use of force investigations.
There's obvious relief here in Minneapolis, but for many, convictions are not enough. They want change, especially in how police treat people in communities of color.
Police, the way they just pull black people over just for no reason sometimes, and just because they think they're a threat, but they're not a threat.
The 3 other officers who were at the scene when Floyd died are expected to go to trial in August for aiding and abetting. Chauvin reportedly wrote his lawyer's phone number on his hand before being taken into custody. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Minneapolis.
The jurors' identities were kept secret and will not be released until the judge decides it is safe to do so. Well, after a record-breaking cold spell and snow, temps are starting to get warmer. Michael Hayslip joins us with the first look at the forecast.
And it's a pretty amazing, Tanya, the fact that we broke back-to-back records for April 20th and April 21st, and we did so in a matter of 15 minutes.
What's even crazier is on Monday, one time in my car it said it was 74 degrees.
Oh, I believe that.
Just
absolutely.
It dropped.
And now eventually, by the time we get to next week, you're going to have your air conditioner on.
Oh my goodness.
I know, we're talking about record cold for not only today, but also yesterday. Yeah. We'll break that down here in just a little bit. Here's where we stand right now. We actually had temperatures that were in the mid-20s when Tanya and I were doing the morning show. So now the fact that we're putting up 51 in Joplin, 53 in Independence and Neodesha, and even 46 in Monette and 49 in Cassville, that is a welcome relief as we transition to the SKYWATCH storm tracker. Whole lot of blue sky and sunshine. What we will pay attention to is what develops out to the west. Not so much for today. We'll be able to hold that off into tomorrow. So for our afternoon, we're going to watch the cold front just recede a little bit. It was impressive. It pressed all the way south through Arkansas, Oklahoma, and into North Texas. But as it reverts back up into the upper plains, it's going to be replaced by Gulf moisture. So what that's going to mean is we're going to have a rainy Thursday evening and Friday morning. Here's where it develops. There it is out to our west, and as it rolls through, really picks up steam more so for Thursday night into Friday. Now, the severe thunderstorm risk map not delivering us anything as far as high winds or hail, but just expect to not only be chilly because we're only in the 50s, but also too, don't go anywhere without the umbrella. Tanya, coming up here in just a little bit, we'll break down exactly where the majority of that rain will fall and talk about those back-to-back records in a span of 15 minutes.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Thanks, Michael. The Republican-led Oklahoma House passes a bill to ban transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. The vote sends the bill to the GOP-controlled Senate, which failed to consider a similar bill earlier this session. Opponents raised concerns the bill could lead to the NCAA to pull some championship games from Oklahoma. The Women's College Softball World Series is held in Oklahoma City and generates more than $20 million each year. Southeast Kansas man pleads no contest to second-degree murder and attempted murder in the stabbing death of his wife and for injuring her grandmother. 34-year-old Jeremy Delmarco from Arma, Kansas is charged with killing 37-year-old Brandy Delmarco and injuring Dorma LeMaster at their home in February of 2019. Court documents show the 84-year-old woman called 911 saying Jeremy Delmarco was assaulting her granddaughter. When deputies arrived, they found both LeMaster and Brandy Delmarco seriously injured. Brandy later died at the hospital. Jeremy Delmarco was arrested after struggling with a deputy despite being shot several times with a stun gun. Sentencing is set for June 30th. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at Noon.
Millions of Americans are ready for a vacation. I'm Danya Backus with a look at where they are headed.
And later, in the mood for Italian, we're making steak pizzaiola in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. A vacation was just a dream for many people last year because of the pandemic. But with vaccinations accelerating, Americans are making up for lost time. Danya Backus reports.
At airports nationwide,
looking for some fun in the sun.
People are taking off. Many for their first vacation since the pandemic started.
We've been just cooped up in the house for too long right now, so just excited to get out.
And the great getaway is expected to continue through the summer months. A new survey from the Points Guy finds half of U.S. adults are likely to take at least one vacation between June and September.
A lot of them are planning on spending a pretty significant amount of money. In fact, over more than 4 out of 10 are actually anticipating spending more than $1,000 on these vacations.
But many won't be spending that money on plane tickets.
Nearly half of those traveling plan to take a road trip, and beaches are one of the most popular places to go.
But national parks are the top destination.
There's going to be a huge demand for visiting these attractions, so make sure you do your research and lock in those plans early because they're just going to get more and more filled up as we approach the summer.
Nick Ewan from the Points Guy says those traveling internationally will likely need to provide a negative COVID test.
Make sure you understand what it's going to take for you to get in and then what it's going to take for you to get back to the United States. And bear in mind, a lot of those things can change on a dime as case counts go up or go down.
Ewan says no matter where you travel, it's important to do your research and plan ahead. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Ewan says people who expect to use a rental car need to book early because they are in short supply. Still to come on the KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
Today, our taste buds are headed off to Italy for a dish that will melt in your mouth. You're not going to want to miss this tasty trip.
But first, Michael Hayslip takes us on a trip and returns with your complete forecast.
They all told us 2021 was going to be a whole lot better, didn't they? Well, I'll tell you what, the differences as far as what we're seeing right now is record-setting cold temperatures. I know that's crazy to be that we're seeing that here in the middle of April. And not only that, technology just came up and decided that it was just going to just take a bite out of me as I've got graphics that I want to go over that have to do with our record cold. And this is where you take one of those and you go, you know what, technology? I'm going to pull this off, whether I got to be on screen or whether I'm not. So let's revert back to our weather almanac on this April 21st. You'll notice our average high is 72 degrees, but let's talk about records right here. Because earlier this morning, we bottomed out at 28 degrees at Joplin Regional Airport, the record being 30. It was set in 1966 and then tied again in the 1970s. So we broke that. But here's the curious thing. We actually set back-to-back records. Earlier in the show, Tanya and I were talking about those being set in a matter of 15 minutes. Well, here's why. Last night at 11:45, Joplin Regional hit 29 degrees. That 1 degree actually made a big difference because it broke the record low of 30 degrees for April 20th that dates back to 1953. Then at 3:45 this morning, we were at 29 when we crossed the clock. That's when we hit a low of 28 degrees. So we eclipsed the record low for April 21, previously set in 66 and 78. But essentially, we broke two records back-to-back days in a span of 15 minutes. And look at this. Now we're already up to 51 degrees with beautiful blue skies outside of Television City. Now, still remember, our average high for this time of year would be about 71, 72 degrees. So we're a far cry off of that, but certainly much better than the record breakers that we had this morning, as we've had nothing to worry about. All the rain has stayed up to our northeast. Little cloud cover beginning to build out to the west, but it won't have a bearing on the rest of our afternoon. The jet stream was extremely split here when we had the cold front and yesterday's snow move through. But now we're seeing it not only move back together, but the trough of the jet stream moving all the way through the Ohio River Valley, delivering everything up through New England. What that means is this gives everything from the southwest. Yesterday, this thing was just dropping right through Texas. Beeline. They all had warm temperatures. Well, what's going to happen is this is going to move, and we are actually going to be replaced and begin to work our way up on the mercury. We'll go mid-50s today, so still very chilly, especially with northeast gusts that are going to be coming in at about 20, 25 miles per hour. And then overnight, while the breeze backs down and shifts a little bit, we're still looking at the possibility of, number one, freeze warnings running for the dark purple throughout the northern portions of our 4 states and southwest Missouri. Look how far these extend. They go all the way through the Show Me State. And then the lighter blue right here, that indicates a frost advisory. Now, if you have any of those plants that are somehow made it through the past 2 days, this is your last chance. I mean, as far as vegetation goes, and not only for us, look at how extensive these are. We're talking about good old-fashioned agricultural country is where this freeze and this cold April snap has hit. So I just want to make sure everybody does the best that we can to get through this. Let's talk about what transpires tomorrow. We talk about the cold front moving off to the east and being replaced by Gulf moisture. So then we're going to see a whole bunch of rain develop out to our west throughout Kansas and Oklahoma. As it moves through, about Thursday afternoon is really when it begins to pick up and get widespread. It'll actually intensify through the course of the evening and Friday night. Now, well, it looks like this one band's going to cut off right here. It's actually a whole bunch of Gulf moisture coming out of Oklahoma and Arkansas that'll give us additional rain on Friday. It's going to be more so for the eastern portion of southwest Missouri, and south central Missouri is where we're going to see our Friday rainfall. At the same point in time, we are going to be able to work up on the mercury, get up into the 60s. Tanya, we make it through this weekend. It's going to be a wet one, but then we're back up into the 70s, if not 80s, by the time we get to Monday.
Oh, I'm looking forward to a warm up next week, that's for sure.
We're due for it after back-to-back days of the record cold.
Yeah. Tired of using my heater so much. Glad I got it fixed, though.
Good point.
Yes, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Private First Class Lawrence Horton in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Rocky Comfort, Missouri, joined the 7th Cavalry, 6th Division Combat Infantry in 1942. During World War II, he earned the Good Conduct Medal, the Philippine Liberation Ribbon, and the Bronze Star. To Private Lawrence Horton, we thank you, our 4-state hero. When you want to make a good impression, just serve up today's simple yet classic Italian recipe. Howard shows us how to make steak pizzaiola in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
A few weeks ago, I went to a friend's house for dinner and had one of the most flavorful steak dishes I've ever had. It's called steak pizzaiola. boy, was it ever good. As a matter of fact, it was so good that I made mental notes on how we could recreate it for you. So here's how. We start by searing a couple of strip steaks that we season with salt, pepper, and garlic and onion powder. After both sides are browned, we take the steak out and add some sliced onions, green peppers that we've cut into strips, a can of Italian-style diced tomatoes with the juice and all, and a little salt and pepper. After this cooks for a few minutes, we'll add the steaks back in and let it simmer until they're cooked to perfection. At that point, we take them out and cut them across the grain into thin slices. Come dinner time, spoon the veggie pack sauce onto your plate and serve slices of the tenderest can be steak over it. Although this is simple, the combo of the flavors makes this taste extra special. To get the recipe for what is known as steak pizzaiola, just visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a mouth-watering way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Looks like a tasty way to serve your steak. You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
Get your AC ready for the summer. Avoid the hassle. Go Paschal.
Escape the everyday to the perfect getaway. Indigo Sky Casino, your premier gaming destination, is waiting for you. For winning fun, live entertainment, delicious chef-created entrees, and a beautiful, luxurious hotel, Indigo Sky offers it all. You're invited to play for your chance to win your share of over $900,000 in total cash and Go Rewards prizes. Indigo Sky, where our guest satisfaction and safety always come first. Play where everybody goes. Indigo Sky Casino, Highway 60 west of Seneca, Missouri.
Quick reminder that the dark purple indicates a freeze warning into tomorrow up till 9 a.m. The light blue indicating a frost advisory. 6-1 half dozen. It's going to be cold no matter what you think. Wednesday or Thursday afternoon, here comes the rain that carries us all the way through the evening hours. Finally, a little warm up, 60s over the weekend.
What do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, as the world reacts to Derek Chauvin's historic murder conviction, first of its kind study shows the impact police killings have on the mental health of many black families. That's in Health Watch. Plus, 4 state law enforcement officers learn de-escalation strategies during crisis intervention training. And Missouri legislators are considering reaffirming the age to purchase tobacco products. It's 21 in the state. We're going to have the details. Hope you join us for those stories. A lot more. KOAM News at 5.
All right. Thank you, Dow. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at Noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.